Hi there. I have a 99 Mazda and the pulse vacuum automatic hubs failed today. What I'm going to do is take the hub assembly apart and permanently lock the axle in four-wheel drive until I get a set of real manual locking hubs. This will get you by in a pinch and it doesn't harm anything. This plastic cap has to come off. What you do is you put a screwdriver against these teeth. You take a hammer, very lightly you tap the cap counterclockwise. These have probably never been off and they are made of plastic, so they're probably stuck and they are brittle if you hit them just a little bit too hard. Just go around the tire a little bit, knocking them in different places until it pops loose. Now, I don't know if it'll help or not, but go ahead and just soak it with WD-40. At this point, I don't know if the cap will let it go to the other side, but it can't hurt. It'll definitely help when you go to put it back on. Okay, the cap is loose. Sometimes these are spring-loaded, sometimes they're not. In this case, it's not, so this hub is probably locked in four-wheel drive. The other side was not. The rubber cap to keep the dust out. This is the unit. Okay, it is locked. This is the unit that keeps the wheel engaged in four-wheel drive. Make it a little clearer. As you can see, it is stuck together. There is a large spring inside. And on the end, this is a little spring. This is what keeps it locked together. And this is what we are going to be removing today. There's two melt marks where the plastic got melted over the spring. I'm just going to cut them with a razor blade and it'll come right out. This is the back side and these are the hooks. Spring is out. This will no longer lock together, and I was wrong actually. When it is unlocked, that is when the tire is locked into four-wheel drive, the wheel. When it's locked together as it was in two-wheel drive. It keeps the tire from being engaged to the axle. Okay. This gear on the bottom is moving right now. This is what has to be pushed onto the axle ring. If it's not pushed on there, the tire will act like it's in two-wheel drive, and it'll spin freely. So, what you do is you have to move the whole wheel while keeping pressure against this bottom ring until it goes onto the axle ring. I didn't want to get greasy, so I used the screwdriver to push the ring against the axle. Camera doesn't want to focus very good. Now, the brakes are dragging on both tires a little bit, so I don't actually have to hold this ring in there. There's enough tension against the tire, it's holding it. The last truck I did this on, the brakes didn't rub nearly as hard, and I had to hold pressure against the tire. I would generally pull down against the tire on this side and just put my boot against it. If you had to do it by yourself, that is. It's better to have two people. I greased everything on the inside and around the edge here where the first cap came off. It's sometimes tricky to get it back on, so any lubrication is beneficial. There's two sizes of teeth to this piece. I don't really know what you call this assembly. A big and small set of teeth. They have to be lined up so that they can slide together. Although in our case it won't really matter because this assembly is going to be staying apart as it is, not pinched like when we took it off. We want it like this so that it keeps pressure against the hub. This is sometimes a pain to get in here. This one's not. Put the dust cover back on. Sometimes this will stay in here. I'm going to pause it. I don't like talking over the traffic, that's why I keep pausing it here and there. Anyway, sometimes this will stay locked in here nice and easy, other times it will not. This one is not. Most likely because I greased it real good. Hold it in there. This is sometimes a tricky part too. You have to get the cap back on here while keeping the dust ring in place, dust gasket. And then just spin this until it slides in. Now, same as before, have to put a screwdriver against these tabs. This is a real pain sometimes. Put a screwdriver against the tabs and tap it in clockwise. Everything's lubricated and loose, so it doesn't want to stay in real easy. You're going to have to keep pressure against it. That won't work. This took me over 2 minutes on the last tire, so I'm not going to videotape all of that. Okay, again, it took me about 2 minutes to get this cap to finally seat. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, you want to use a 1/4 inch head screwdriver. You don't really want too much bigger than that. At least that's what I've found to work the best. Now I'm going to spin each of the tires. I have the truck in 4-wheel drive already. And I'm going to make sure that the axle turns on both sides. If it doesn't, then it was not my hubs that failed, it was probably something else. Okay, both tires are locked. Oops. They're not spinning freely, so that means it is turning the axle, and since I have it in gear, the truck is not going to move. That's all there is to it. You could leave it this way, and it would be considered something like a live axle setup, where you don't actually have 4-wheel drive hubs. 2005 or 2001 and newer pickups all came with a live axle. They did away with the hub assembly completely, which is a more reliable setup. I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to put manual locking hubs in it. But you could leave it like this and it would be similar to having a live axle setup. It is not as strong as a live axle, of course, but I like this method for being in a pinch or if you have a yard vehicle. We have a 2000 model truck that had this same problem, and we just left it like this, where they're permanently locked in. We haven't had any trouble with it. Thank you for watching. Praise the Lord Jesus.